Hey folks, welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Innova Electronics. Check engine lights can be a mystery. Sometimes you have no idea what it's trying to tell you. Some people will cover it up or unplug it, just dismiss it as a mystery. With Innova, you can easily identify both the problem and see what it takes to fix it, like having a personal mechanic in your pocket. Step 1, you scan the code. Connect your Innova ODB scanner, OBD, onboard diagnostic tool, and use features like hotkeys and patented all-in-one display. Scan your vehicle's onboard computers to detect for any malfunctions. In step 2, you can verify. With Innova's all-new Repair Solutions 2 mobile app, you now have access for free to over 60 million fixed solutions that are verified for accuracy by real ASE certified technicians. In step 3, you can fix it. It doesn't just stop there. Repair Solutions 2 is the complete solution. In the app, you'll find troubleshooting information and even be able to order the right parts for the job. If you've still got questions, Innova's USA-based customer support team is always available to help 6 days a week. Innova tools speak your car's language, so you don't have to. You can buy Innova tools at Advanced Auto Parts, AutoZone, or any other number of brick-and-mortar shops, but if you use code TST at Innova.com, it's INNOVA.com. Use code TST and get 20% off and free shipping. That's code TST at Innova, INNOVA.com, and get 20% off, free shipping. Innova Electronics. Find the problem, fix the problem. Innova.com. We are also brought to you by my favorite sunglasses, Dylan Optics, right here in Arizona. Not here, but like America here. They have the coolest lenses. They don't just look unique with their sort of fogged up anti-reflective material. They actually work great. Dylan Optics are like having HD life. I'm out in the desert filming, up in the mountains, driving sometimes 8-10 hours a day. My eyes would be super trashed if I didn't have a good pair of Dylan Optics on every time I got in the car. If you go to our website, thesmokingtire.com, and you click on the Partners tab, you'll see that Dylan Optics banner right there. Use that to get your Dylan Optics, and we will send you a free Smoking Tire t-shirt for your trouble, for supporting the people who support us. If you go to thesmokingtire.com and click on that banner, we will get you a t-shirt for supporting the people who support us. And also, you get yourself a really kick-ass pair of sunglasses. They've got aviator frames, plastic frames, all different kinds of color, lens combinations. You can really kind of customize it to your desired combo to fit with any outfit. And we love our Dylan Optics sunglasses here at the show. Lastly, of course, proud to say this one, first one of the year, we are brought to you by Tradecraft Farms, the official ganja of the Smoking Tire Podcast. Boy, does that feel nice. These guys make some really, really excellent products for relaxing the mind and getting in touch with the body. And they smell good and they're sticky. All the things you're looking for in a good weed. If you're not in California, then I'm sorry to say this may not help you so much. But they have a great Instagram. Follow them at the Tradecraft Farms Instagram. You've got it on the screen. It's going to be in the description of all of our podcast episodes for the year. Yes, it's nice to be sponsored by weed. Tradecraft Farms is the official ganja of the Smoking Tire Podcast. Hell to the yes, it is. All right, folks, on this episode of the Smoking Tire Podcast, my pal Magnus Walker is in the studio. He's got a brand new show on Haggerty's YouTube channel called The Next Big Thing, where he discusses and evaluates cars that are underappreciated in the classic and collector market that he thinks will be the next big thing. He doesn't need much more introduction than that. And as of the time I'm recording this, we haven't actually done the show yet, so I'm not sure if his lovely significant other, Hannah Elliott of Bloomberg Cars, will be joining him or not. I hope she does, because she rules. It's nice that we both each have a Hannah to lean on. So maybe Hannah's here, maybe he's not, but certainly Magnus Walker on the Smoking Tire Podcast. You have so many available styles. You're just the sort of your silhouette is just so fucking photogenic. It drives me insane.
Oh. You know, sign me up for the supermodel contract.
I know. Can I fucking how do I get, because okay, you're good weathered and I'm bad weathered. how do I get to your version of weathered other than just starving myself and not shaving for 7 years?
That's a really, really good question. I'm aging. I've got, that video I posted of you and I from car hosting cars.
Oh, from back in the day, yeah, from 2013.
Yeah, look at the beard. The beard's not gray there. I've aged.
Have you actually aged? I need to go back and watch that. I don't know. To me, you seem like pretty much frozen in one state.
Well, that is good. If you go back there, there's actually less hair and there's more gray hair. That's the difference.
Okay. Well, we could. I mean, look, a company approached me not long ago, and I turned them down. And it was a beard dye company. They wanted me to dye my beard, and I was like, man,
what color? Pink, purple?
Well, that actually, that's why you're you and I'm me, because I maybe could have had fun dyeing it fucking pink, and you probably could if you wanted to, but I think they wanted me to like hair club ferment it, where I try and pull off like the John Travolta or something.
No, I'm not going there. I'm living with the gray, so it's all good.
No, you are aging with grace, my friend, like your 911s. Like your 911s.
You know what it is? The secret is Hannah Elliott. A younger woman keeps me youthful.
You guys really are power couple in the automotive world. I'm sorry she's not joining you today. I love Hannah. She's great.
Yeah, she will join you at another time. Bloomberg's got this new thing where she has to get approved to go on podcasts, and sometimes the approval process takes longer, and in the past she never had to get approved, and it's a whole different thing.
Fucking corporate America, dude.
Yeah. We don't want another Yo Mikey, on some podcast making
Well, when you were down here the other day doing voiceover, you were driving her car, which is pretty fucking cool.
We should talk about that when we're on. Are we on yet or not?
Oh no, we've been on, dude. We just dive. We dive right in. We dive straight in.
We dive right in.
Yeah.
All right,
this is on.
So yeah, Hannah's 75 Silver Shadow. That was a car we traded against the 560 SL.
It's the one of, if not the least loved of all Rolls Royces. And perhaps unfairly so. I think that car catches a bad rap because so many of them just sat and rotted.
Yeah, I think it's like any 45-year-old car that doesn't get driven. They suffer from all types of gremlins. And if we'd paid attention to anyone that we told what we were doing, we would never have got it, because the universal response was, don't do it, run away as quick as you can.
Yeah.
But, the long story short, I bought Hannah a 560 SL for her birthday in 2019, which proved to have a few too many rattles and gremlins and things that just became niggly. And so the independent Mercedes specialist, Sports Car LA, said, sure, I called them up and said, hey, this thing's got a couple of bugs and gremlins. Can I trade it for a similar price point, similar vintage? They said, sure, bring it back. So we went back down there, and they've literally got 20 or 30 of them. It's like, pick your color. You want silver, brown, gold, red, black, whatever.
All of those slab-sided SLs of the late 70s and 80s?
Yeah, it's a place called Sports Car LA, and they literally probably have a minimum of 24 at any time.
Oh.
And they're everything from the 380 SL all the way up to the 560 and everything in between. So there were probably 20 of them. We narrowed it down to 3 that we liked. And then in the corner was this olive green Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow long wheelbase. And once I saw that, I lost all interest in Mercedes SLs. Asked the guy, hey, what's the story with the roly-poly in the corner? How much is it? And believe it or not, it was a similar price point. And
I do believe it.
What she thought about, what she thought about the Rolls Royce. And long story short, we did a sideways trade plus $2,000, and we got the keys to the roly poly. But the real funny story is a few of them. The guy goes, just take it for a drive, see what you think. And they're like way south, like south of Vernon. So we're on the 110, and we're way past south of Slauson, and I'm driving it, and it's sort of going straight like this. And I said, okay, Hannah, it's your turn to drive it. So we pull off into a gas station somewhere way down in the hood, pull into the gas station to swap drivers. I get out, the car dies, won't restart. Turns out it's out of gas, even though the fuel gauge showed it was full of gas. We can't start it. We can't actually push it back to the pump to get gas in it. The gas flap doesn't open. We can't figure out how to open it. So we end up calling the guy.
This all sounds very promising. How do you let this one go?
Well, this is the test drive.
That's what I'm saying.
So the guy comes down. By this time, the battery's dead because we've tried to crank it once or twice. The thing weighs 2 tons, so we couldn't push it. Long story short, he starts it up, gives us some gas, and we ended up buying the car. And people thought we were nuts. Like, that was the warning right there. It broke down on the test drive.
Yeah.
But, we sorted out a few electrical gremlins, windows that didn't work, and fuel gauge and minor electronic things. And fingers crossed, it's kind of our daily driver, and we've had no issues with it.
I mean, I really think if you drive those cars literally every day, they're fine. You know that kid? You've seen the kid around in L.A. who's got the white and silver one of those? It's really nice.
Not yet, but that sounds like
he's a kid in his early 20s who I see at a lot of the Cars and Coffee events. He's got one like yours, without the patina. It's fresh, really fresh looking.
Nice.
And see how I wove that in a really nice, really
I saw that one.
kind way. But he just bought this thing for like $6,000 and started driving it. And I see him all the time. Apparently, he's had no problems at all. It's great.
So he must have got lucky because, everyone said there's nothing as expensive as a cheap Rolls Royce. And I've avoided 10-gram ones, but maybe he got lucky. But what I will say, there's something very stately about that car. You get a lot of respect in it. No one ever sort of looks at you like you're a douchebag for driving a Rolls Royce, because it's just on the right side of cool is how I see it.
Yeah, it's an ironic cool. Like when you drive around, especially looking like you and Hannah look driving that thing around, you're basically like a Bruce Weber advertisement photograph driving this around. You know what I mean? If someone just snapped a little black and white of you guys in like a 50mm lens, that could be on a billboard for that fucking hat of yours or something.
Exactly right. Yeah, the new Ralph Lauren hat or something.
Yeah, I'm told exactly.
Yeah.
But your new show, the reason we're having you call in today, other than you're my homie, your new show on Haggerty. It seems like Haggerty's throwing cash into the wind right now, and I mean that in a good way, into the winds of automotive producers. So tell us about your show.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's an opportunity essentially to drive some cars that are actually on my wish list of cars that I want to own. So the whole premise of the show, The Next Big Thing, it's not the next big budget thing. It's not the next big high dollar thing. It's literally my sort of suggestion and idea of what I think are potentially underdogged, unloved, slightly under the radar cars for the most part. And a lot of them are cars that I personally want to own, such as a Dodge Viper, a Jag XJS, and various other things. So,
I mean, you're a pretty influential person, dude. This is a dangerous game you're playing to try and make a show about cars you think will be the next thing. Meanwhile, you freely admit that you would like to own these cars. I think you're fucking yourself here, man. I'm worried about you.
You never know. I do appreciate that concern. There are bargains around every corner. I've gone down the rabbit hole recently of vintage Jag, E-Type Jag ownership. And I've always wanted an XJS, and that's one of the cars we featured on the show. And truth be told, having driven it, I still want it, which is a good sign.
Oh, really? What year did you drive?
I drove a late Series 80s one, and what I really wanted was a Series 1 from 75, 76. But we drove some late 80s Series 2 and a Series 3. I just love the style of them, the shape, it's kind of an iconic shape that you don't see out there everywhere on the road. So
yeah, no, it's one of those cars I'd like to put a muffled up Corvette engine and a GM automatic transmission in and just cruise around in. My dad had one of these when it was new. My dad had an 85.
Oh, interesting.
I think it was a V12. I want to say it was an XJ12 that he was his first. My dad's a pretty heavy hitter now, but when in 85, he was his career was just getting going. It was his first nice car. And he tells everybody what an unbelievable piece of shit it was.
Your dad has a record of buying unreliable, very
garbage.
nice but unreliable cars.
Yeah, except for the LS 400, which was the best car ever. But yeah, no, this thing it apparently spent 2/3 of its first year in the shop and then out it went.
Sounds about right. I think there's a lot of deferred maintenance examples like that.
His was new. His was brand new. It's not deferred maintenance. His shit was brand new. And he had it. This was in period.
And once he was successful, he's like, you know what? I'm going to get a 7 Series. And that broke. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to get a Cayenne.
Said every terrible thing. But I respect it. The XJS is a sweet looking car. It looks amazing.
My goal is to do a hot rod one, sort of like a TWR racing touring car style from the 70s. Bumper delete, slightly flared.
Yeah, Zach,
like
pull up a picture of the Tom Walkinshaw Racing Jaguar XJS. Walkinshaw
TWR.
built the fucking best touring cars, right? Because he didn't just do the XJS. He did the Volvo wagons. Right. Too. He did the really weird oddball cars.
He had quite the reputation. He raced them with factory support as a privateer. And then Jag actually had a TWR sort of limited edition with the body kit on it.
Oh, yeah, the body kit. Yeah,
so that's kind of, that was my initial goal about 2 years ago was, why am I not doing one, XJS?
Yeah.
So I formed this loose list of 25 cars. Had a conversation with Haggerty, who ironically said, we like the idea, but, we're done for the year. We've ran out of budget. And then about 3 days later came back with, hey, I think we might be able to do this year. And then it literally went from a conversation to we were shooting within, I think, 2-3 weeks. So it was fun for me to actually shoot the 6 episodes. And the first one airs on Friday. So
boy, does that sound like a web series timeline. We've got a picture of that Walkinshaw Jag pulled up, and it is awesome. The best wheels. Those wheels are killer.
That and the Batmobile behind it. I always wanted a Batmobile, right? The 3.0 right there.
That's one, I just went to a drive-in movie parked behind the Batmobile that Hans Stuck raced.
Oh, they had that at the
at the motoring club drive-in movie. We watched Cannonball Run.
Wow,
it was cool.
He probably drove that with Brian, probably Brian Redmond, I bet, in the day.
Possibly, yeah. Dude, what if you got one of those? What if you got an XJS convertible and chopped the windows and took off the bumpers and did like a speedster?
This is what that would be like. Cool. It would be like this. It'd be like,
he's got his beard up over his face.
45-degree angles from his mouth.
Oh wow! When you spread the beard out, dude, it really makes a good like a fan. It fans out. Oh wow! It stays. Almost. Bro, why have you not entered beard competitions yet is the real question.
I'm not manly enough for the Whisk Awards. About 20 years ago, I formed this little club called the Bearded Brotherman Club. And essentially it went nowhere, but, the logo was good.
But have you seen the competitions? Oh, yes. Zach's just got up a wide-body
touring car.
Wide-body Jag XJS touring car, and it looks awesome.
See, Zach should have found us that when we were shooting the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely low budget.
Definitely low budget. Yeah. Definitely street legal. It's just got a small cage in it.
Yeah, it's a streetable track car. Come on. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Can I just say, speaking of streetable in a cage, I went to Cars and Coffee over the weekend, and I saw a BMW 4 Series street car, relatively new, the coupe, right? Excuse me, 3 Series sedan street car, with a really loud exhaust and a full cage in the back of it. And I was like, what the hell is this? And there was these girls driving it, and they were clearly Instagram influencers. And I am not going to knock anyone's influencer hustle, but I asked her, I was like, yo, you straight up have a cage in the entire back seat of your sedan. What's the deal? And she's like, oh, haha, like it was free. It was comped. And I was like, oh, are you like an influencer? And she's like, yeah, kind of. And I got it for free. And I was like, oh, did you need it? And she was like, no, but like, I don't really put anyone in my back seat anyway. And I was like, okay, and walked away. That was the end of the conversation. Like, someone offered you a free ruining of your sedan, and you just
all you
took
need to know. Yeah. All you need, just for the gram, right?
Just for the gram. It was wrapped. It was painted pink, and the car was black.
How was it? How was the turnout there?
You know, it's interesting. I kind of feel guilty for going because it is a gathering. On the other hand, it's outdoor. It's probably 80 to 90% mask usage, and I stay away from people. And I haven't, heard of any super spreader circles that are linked back to being there. But it's kind of interesting. Certain people like me get there very early, and then there's sort of a wave like turnover, and another a second wave happens at like 9:30, and then even another wave happens after that. And like the cops showed up to try to block off the lot until the stores open, but then like at 8:01 they all just left. which I don't even understand why they bothered, but okay. But it's really interesting. There's been some interesting stuff that turns out. Yeah,
we've been out a few times. Did you used to go to the Irvine Cars and Coffee 10 years ago, the one that may have started it all?
Yes, I went to at the end of it.
That was always
very cool one. Yeah, but
it was.
I don't know about you, but maybe because you're coming from downtown anyway, but I'm not really that into like leaving my house and getting on the 405 and just driving 50 miles south and then leaving the car show and just driving 50 miles back north on the 405. I like the Malibu one.
Beach house with no heat, right?
Fuck you, shitbag. Must be tough in your warehouse with $10 million in Porsches in it with no heat. How's it fucking feel, dickhead?
It feels great with my beanie and my jumper on, my fuzzy sweater. It feels really good.
Magnus is wearing the snowsuit from A Christmas Story.
Yeah, he's basically somewhere between Kris Kringle and Freddy Krueger, right?
I mean, I'm naked below the waist. You just can't see it.
So other than the XJS, which I agree is an undervalued classic cruiser, what other kind of stuff did you put on your list of things that you wanted to go spend a day with and maybe ultimately buy?
Well, we started with 25 cars. We broke it down. We shot 6 episodes. I'll tell you the cars we shot: a BMW E39 M5. We shot a Lamborghini, a Sparta, a 308 GT4 Ferrari, which was a car on my list to own.
Mm-hmm.
We shot Jeep Grand Wagoneer and a hot rod one. We shot the XJS. We shot a Mercedes wagon and some Toyota Cressida wagons. And we shot Bisimoto's 2014 Viper. So of the cars on the list, the XJS is a car I was after. The Viper was a car I'd always loved, which I also think is a little bit sort of, even though everyone knows the Viper, I would say there are a lot of bang for the buck. You know, they're sort of, I think, undervalued performance.
But I'm surprised your personal taste wouldn't want like a 92 Viper with the plastic windows and shit. That seems more you.
No, I mean, when the Roadster first came out, the R10 Roadster, I was never a fan because I don't like convertibles. It's back to this, beard in the wind. But what I actually wanted to shoot was a GTS. So, you know, I had a buddy that owned one back in the 90s, and I actually drove his car, and I always loved the GTS. So the goal for me really was to have got an earlier generation one. But with it being a last-minute thing, that didn't work out, and we got to drive Busy's Gen 5 2014 Viper, which I really enjoyed. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? That's kind of an example of what the show is about. Cars that, you know, I think are underappreciated. You know, the Lamborghini Espada, when you think of Lamborghini, obviously, you know, you have the Countach, right? Your mind doesn't necessarily jump to an Espada. So,
no, or like a Jalpa either, or a Rocco. There's some under represented Lamborghinis for sure. I like the Jarama, I think, is a particularly cool looking one as well. That there's a dude, you seen the guy in Malibu who's got the medium patinaed Jarama that he really drives around a lot?
No,
Zach, you ever seen a Lamborghini Jarama?
No,
Jarama.
I had to look it up. I think it's pretty interesting looking.
It's very 70s.
The same was with the Ferrari 308 GT4, you know, the unloved Bertoni-bodied Ferrari. That was a car, you know, you could buy in the teens when I bought a 308 GTB back in the 90s. And that was a car recently I'd sort of fell back in love with and thought, hey, I need one of these. So, of course,
the one you drove, I saw on your Instagram, the GT4 you drove, it looked like you'd already bought it. It looked exactly like a car that you would, like it had like the gold, it was blue with gold wheels. It looked like it was like already your color scheme pretty much. That Jarama's kind of cool.
It was almost too nice for me, that 308 GT4. And, you know, but I had to drive it, and I still want one of those as well. But to answer your first question, there's a lot of other cars on the list. You know, Toyota MR2's on the list. You know, I've kind of got a bit of variety on different things that should be on that list. Some quirky British cars. And, you know, there's a lot of cars out there that could potentially fall into the next big thing. You know, and this is just my opinion. Obviously, people are going to be opinionated on why driving an M5 BMW. That's already a big thing. Everyone already knows about those. But, you know,
well, you know, you drove Zuckerman's, right?
Yes, I did.
His is the best one.
Yeah.
His is the best one. So when you drive like a pristine example of that, and you go, "Oh fuck, this was so good, wasn't it?" Like that's a really nice driving car, isn't it? They're not all like that.
They're not all like that.
And it costs a lot of money to unfuck a bad one of those. You cannot, you can't get away cheap in one of those cars. If it's fucked up, it's going to be fucked up forever, pretty much. But
I mean, the other car that's
beautiful.
on the list is like an 840 or an 850. You know, I've always loved the shape of that car, the way they look. You know, and that's another car that, you know, they seem affordable until everyone tells you, oh, they're a nightmare to fix them. The electronics are terrible. It's going to cost you a fortune to run it. But those are the same guys that told us, hey, run away from the Rolls Royce. So I don't really pay attention. I've never really paid attention to people's opinions, and especially when it comes to P cars, I always bought what I personally liked, and then later on, you know, those cars sort of doubled and tripled in value. But for me, it's not about the value of, hey, let me buy this car for 10 grand because it's going to be worth 20 or 30. It's more about, hey, do I really like the car? And people email me all the time. They want to pick my brain on, hey, I'm first-time Porsche buyer, you know, what do you advise? And I always say, buy what you personally like, what you personally love. Not what I'm going to tell you, hey, you know, get a 914 or whatever it may be. You know, my thing is always just buy what you personally love yourself. That's always my thing to do. So
I agree. And if you buy, like, I get asked the same question about cars and watches all the time. It's like, you buy the watch you want to wear every single day, you know, and and if you use it, you'll get your value. What is that, Porsche design? Yeah, you got that.
No. I mean, generally I wear the Porsche design every day.
Is it an Omega?
Like the first, Omega Speedmaster.
Wait, move it to your left a little bit. Oh yeah, no, that's nice. Is that a Mark II?
There you go.
That's a Mark II, right? Yeah, that thing is sweet.
Yeah.
You're a man of taste, sir. Go the other way.
Other way.
Your other left.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, Speedmaster Mark
II.
Very, very nice watch. Super cool.
I actually bought that from Wanna Buy a Watch probably 20 years ago.
You were ahead, though, not just on Porsches. You had some other non-Porsches before they were super cool, too. I mean, didn't you have a Shelby Mustang before they were cool?
Well, I had the Shelby Mustang. I had a 65 GT 350R replica that was modified with a 351 Cleveland, the Richmond 5-speed, a Detroit locker.
Oh, so that's a driver. That's not investment.
Yeah, I never had the real one. Then I had the 269 Super Bs. You see it right there. The test.
Oh yeah. I
owned 2 of those. You know, that was back in the glory days of Pomona Swap Meet in the 90s. You know, when you could sort of go find anything that was really affordable. I bought a 73 Lotus Europa out of there, and various other cars.
When was the last time you went to Pomona Swap Meet?
Well, ironically, it was about 18 months ago when we bought that gold 944 Turbo that's right under that Porsche Outlaw sign right there.
Oh.
It was Hannah's first trip to Pomona Swap Meet, and I said to her, hey, Pomona works 2 ways. You either go with a pocket full of cash when you're looking for something and you never find it, or you go just to spend some time and you find what you are looking for but not searching for.
Interesting.
So about 18 months ago, I bought a 1988 gold 944 Turbo that you might see behind me from Pomona Swap Meet. So I've acquired a lot of cars through Pomona Swap Meet. And, you know, pre-internet 20, 25 years ago, that really was the place to go to find anything. I mean, it's still a great place to go.
I went a couple years ago just for shits and giggles, and I was, I was exhausted by the end of it, just by the overload of, you know, one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and it's all these Volkswagen parts next to all these Ferrari parts, and I mean, it was craziness. But apparently, you got to go you got to be real early to get the deals in the cars, right? Got to go like the 5 a.m. club.
They're there at 5 a.m. One of my funniest Pomona Swap Meet stories ever was probably back in the 90s, and that was when the Porsche parts were all over the place there. And there was a guy. Long story short, he'd had his car stolen. It had been stripped and parted out, and the guy was smart enough to have actually engraved his name in his wheels, and he found his set of wheels at Pomona Swap Meet, and he was arguing with the guy that was selling them, saying, these are my wheels. And the guy basically said, well, how do you know? How can you prove it? And the guy goes, look, my name's engraved in the back of the wheels, and security came over. And, you know, I guess there's a lot of stories about Pomona Swap Meet. But,
mental note,
still a good place
engrave
to
your wheels. Put your name on everything you own.
If you got plenty of time, engrave the wheels.
And that's how the Magnus Walker steering wheel was born.
That's kind of it, That is kind of it.
Yo, so you had 308 GTB back in the day, right?
Yeah, I bought my 308 GTB in the 90s. I paid 20 grand for it. I bought it from Heritage Classics. I drove it for at least a dozen years. All I ever replaced was a water pump. That was it. It was a reliable car.
So you drove it a lot, and then you... Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I drove it a lot, and I ended up selling it for the same price I bought it for to the Alpha guys, Santos. I don't know if you know those guys, but Hot Rod Alpha guys, they race Alpha, super nice guys. They bought the car, and that was at the period when I owned quite a variety of cars that were not just purely Porsche. I had the Mustang, E-Type Jag, Lotus Europa. I had the 269 Super Bs, and then I had the 79 308 GTB, last of the carbureted. But
so how did you like the GT4 compared to your GTB? Similar driving experience, or? Yeah,
pretty similar. I mean, everyone says, you know, slightly longer wheelbase, handles better, but I wasn't at speeds where I could really sort of tell the difference, and I'd been out of the 308 GTB for at least a dozen years. But it came back to me, the slightly awkward steering position, you know, the heavy steering at slow speeds, the clickety-click gate shift, you know, the sort of throttle response in the car. I mean, I really like my 308 GTB. I always wanted a 512 Boxer, which I thought was a 308 GTB on steroids, really.
Yeah,
and I almost bought one of those.
At Donnie's, he's got one that's up there in pieces. It looks great.
I loved them. I always wanted a 512 Boxer when they were affordable. And the 308 GT4 was always like the quirky, ugly duckling car. But like I said earlier, having driven one, I still wanted one. And I'd gotten to look at one a couple of weeks before we shot the show that was on, I think it was on Bring a Trailer down in Redondo Beach, that ended up selling for about 70 grand. Was kind of more than I wanted to spend on one.
Yeah, that's
I'm kind of on the entry level. Yeah, but that's kind of where they've become. I mean, it was the same thing when I bought the Lotus Esprit 2 years ago. I wanted a Series 1. I remember back in, you know, everything's doubled and tripled. So I don't know why I'm surprised that Lotus Esprits did, but trying to find a Series 1 Esprit, they were no longer in the teens. They were, like, more expensive than the Ferrari. Like, really had shot up in price point.
I think the 308 GT4 looks good. I was never, but I also think Mondials look good, and people think I'm nuts. I think the end run Mondials look really nice too. The T's.
I agree with you on the Mondial. I'm also thinking, hey, 348, 355, or 360 is looking pretty good right now.
We just rented a 348 on Turo
for
a day.
I saw that.
Yo, it was pretty good. It was like $700 well spent. It was a lot of fun. It drove really nice. Car was a runner. Everything worked good. It was pretty fast. It felt really, really nice and tight. Really fun car. Good time. Don't sleep on the 348. Yeah.
Yeah, 348 to me is like a baby Tesla Roadster, at least in the way it looks.
Yeah.
You know, but everyone's sort of cringes with 348s, but the 360 to me is looking good, like the beginning of the next generation.
With the 348, the thing is, you only want a 94. The 91
tell me about the 94.
Because they changed like everything. They changed the suspension geometry, the size and stagger of the wheels, the gear ratios. It has more power. It has different steering. Apparently when what's his name, Luca Montezemolo went to Ferrari, he drove like the 91 or 92 348 and basically said, this is a complete piece of shit, fix everything, change everything. And the 94 is a fixed car. Now, I've only driven a 94. I've never driven the previous one, but my Ferrari people say that you don't really want a 91 to 93, and the difference in price to get a 94 reflects how much nicer they are to drive.
What is the price range on the 94?
75 to 85 for a good one, instead of, you know, 45 to 65 for an earlier car. Yeah.
Now, you just got a 328 recently, right?
Yeah, GTS.
Is this your first Ferrari, or have you won Ferraris?
No, it's my first one. I'm very excited.
And how's that experience going? How you
so far, it's okay. I mean, so far, I bought the car. I started driving it. I put 600 miles on it.
Sirio assisted you in the purchase of that car. Is that correct?
Yeah, he did help me find it in Georgia.
Okay.
And Donnie Calloway is working on it right now. We went up last
He's
week
the guy
to
up
film an
in
update.
the desert, right?
Yeah, the guy out in the desert. That's a great way to describe Donnie, the guy in the desert. And, you know.
How did you hook up with him, Donnie?
Spike.
Okay.
From Spike. And we filmed an update video that's coming out this week. Long story short, nothing horrible. Found some deferred maintenance, as you would put it. Found a mild amount of janky engineering, and we found a couple of dry rotted hoses and seals that needed replacing. So no big deal, honestly. No big deal. It should be done and back in a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna daily it. It's gonna be my car. I'm very excited, honestly. So far, I'm not disappointed at all. So far, it's exactly what I thought would happen.
You got to like that. So maybe the 348 is potentially the next big thing that we have to shoot when it comes to Ferraris.
Could be.
Could well be
they're pretty sweet, man. I was into
that
it.
and a Saab 900 Turbo. I've had an itching for. The second car I ever bought was a Saab 900 Turbo back in like the early 90s, and I had the SPG version. It seemed like everyone that lived on the west side. You know, everyone that lived in Venice or Santa Monica, you know, had a gray or black Saab 900 SPG Turbo.
You know what's interesting, dude?
Charcoal.
When I grew up, everyone fucked with the Saab 900 Turbo as well. It's one of the first cars I learned to drive stick on. My father, when he got rid of that shit pile XJS, got a 87 900 Turbo. His was an automatic because my dad's kind of lame like that. But on the East Coast, it seemed like everybody had 900 turbos and 9,000 arrows. It seemed like everybody had them in the 90s. When I moved to LA, there were no more Saabs. Are you telling me that there's a time period when people in Los Angeles drove Saabs? Yeah,
it seems late 80s, early 90s. I paid $7,500 for mine off Auto Trader, I think, and they seemed relatively common, and there were always three colors: bright yellow, black, or the two-tone charcoal gray with the little key in the middle. It was always cool and quirky.
Yeah.
So yeah, that seemed on, because that was when I was still in Venice. So I moved downtown in '94. That's the car right there. That is
what a great looking car. Those wheels were awesome for the period. That ducktail spoiler it had, it was the best.
Here's the crazy thing. A couple of months back, I was going through the back room in the garage, going through boxes. Jag boxes, actually, Jag parts boxes. And I pulled the box out, and it had a receipt from Swedish Motors who'd worked on my Saab 900 Turbo, literally in like 1992. And it turns out Swedish Motors, they're still in business on the west side. I think they're on Venice by the 405.
Oh, I know them. Venice yeah, they are. I know that place. Yeah, so they're definitely still there.
Those guys are still around. They worked on my Saab, and I found an invoice from 1992 going like 28 years.
They're definitely still there.
There you go.
I mean, just looking at this 900 Turbo, the wraparound windshield was so great. The A-pillars are so small. You have such good visibility. And even though it was front-wheel drive, it looks like a rear-wheel drive car. They're so nice looking. Those are going to be worth fucking money when people realize that there are 0 of those left.
And I think they're still affordable. So that's on the list. I mean, hopefully the goal is people relate to the show gets picked up, and, you know, we go shoot more episodes because, you know, there could be hundreds of things that, you know, I would say are the next big thing that sort of fall into that same category right there. You know, it's a nostalgia for me. It's a nostalgic trip back in time. The first car I ever bought was a 1977 Toyota Corolla, so that's a car on my list. So, you know.
Is that why you ended up driving Cressidas, because of that? Because of your Toyota connection?
Yes and no. I mean, there's two cool Cressidas in the Arts District. So, you know, I literally left a note on the guy's windshield saying, hey, I'm doing blah, blah, blah. Would you be interested? And he was. And that led us down the slippery slope of Toyota Cressida wagons, which fall into a couple of categories. We found some interesting owners. So a lot of it is interesting cars, but as importantly, interesting owners with interesting stories about, you know, why this, why that, and the car culture that surrounds that particular car. You know, obviously the Toyota Cressida, Japanese import car culture, there's a lot of modifications people are doing to that. We met a woman owner who had a chandelier in hers and a aftermarket exhaust, and there's all types of counterculture, Burning Man type of things associated, as we know, with every car culture, right? So this is not so much a performance data type of show; it's more of the type of show I'm describing of people and cars, and so I'm pretty excited about it.
What do you think about period brand name tuner cars like the Alpina BMWs from the 80s, like Koenig specials, and like the HKS stuff out of Japan? Like I think there's going to be enormous value in period tuner cars that are unfucked with since then.
Got it. I'm all down with it when it comes to Porsche. Gambala, Vanilla Ice, Avalanche, Slant Nose. We can't not talk about that, right? The Storzek wide-bodied 928s. I'm actually
oh my God, the Strosek.
One of those.
The 911s where they made the headlights the little squinty.
Right.
Look up a Strosek 911, Strosek. They were in the back of DuPont Registry for like a decade. Fucking weird looking. Weird.
Yeah, pull one up and then see if you can find a 928 that they did.
A Strosek 911. It looks like a 911 has had an allergic reaction to bad fish.
I'll say it's hard to find a good photo, but we got this one.
Oh, that's the 928. The 1981 928.
See, I like that right there. And then you should pull up Gambala Avalanche.
The Gambala Avalanche I've seen. I think they still fucking make and sell something called an Avalanche right now. I think the current car is called the Avalanche.
There's a guy down in Miami called RMC, Real Muscle Cars, who's always chasing Kramer and DP and Gambala slant noses, and he found and sold the original, or one of the original, I think the Vanilla Ice version.
The Gambala Avalanche has a crazy Testarossa-like straked wide body kit. It looks fucking wild. I can definitely see you driving some shit like this. Well, you've kind of got that weird 935-esque sort of thing, don't you?
Yeah, I actually pulled it out the other day because I want to be doing a pretty interesting photo shoot with that car. And, ironically, the car started up and then it had a whole fuel leak going on and it was leaking oil everywhere and smoking like hell. But yes, I do. I was on a big quest for a slant nose, and in a way, I still am.
What is the story with the body kit on that car? It's a funky period body kit, right?
Yeah, there's no real history. I'd been looking literally all over the country. I'd gone down to Miami. I'd looked at everything from everything we just described to real factory slant noses to aftermarket conversions. Because a lot of that was done in the 80s. A lot of it was fiberglass. Some was steel. Some was good. Some was bad. Mine's got some sort of 935/Moby Dick conversion, but doesn't have the pop-up headlights and doesn't have the vented rockers. And it's kind of an oddball car, but I'd looked at quite a few. And then this one cropped up, and it cropped up here in Pasadena. And it turns out buried underneath that body kit, it's a 74 Carrera with a 2.7 MFI motor in it. So kind of an oddball car that really needs that 2.7 motor pulled out of it and needs like a big horsepower turbo motor put into it.
I'm sure your friend Busy would happily supply you an engine for that project.
Yeah, Busy would be the guy. I mean, this is a perfect example of it. I pull the car out. It's got all the issues I described. I bought some wheels from my buddy Dorian Alfie, him. He'd got some BBS wheels that were slightly deeper offset. So I put them on, they look good, but then the front, I don't have long enough studs. I had to run a spacer because it was running a 275 front tire that was rubbing on this front suspension strut housing. So I had to put a spacer on it. Then I don't have enough stud to get the lug nut on it.
Oh my
God.
God.
I have to go to 100 millimeter studs.
There it is.
Yeah, slippery slope.
Slippery slope just barely describes it. It looks fucking wild, though. We got a picture up. It looks cool.
So I'm going through all that just to get the car ready to do what I think is going to be an epic photo shoot in it. And I'm prepping it, and it's
all this
like,
bullshit
I'm not
to
even
take pictures of it.
Actually, yeah, it's a driving car, but the wheel and tire combo is not quite right, so I'm tweaking with it. Yes, it needs a motor. So this is all part of the slippery slope as to how it is with old cars. It's a bit like the E-Type Jag out there. It's like a love-hate thing sometimes.
What's the story with the Jag?
Well, I ended up buying two of them. The white one, which broke down on me, left me stranded on the 10th freeway the day before Thanksgiving.
Ugh.
And then I found what is the perfect patinaed one, this blue one, which had been out in Miami, parked outside in the rain, and it's got all this cracked up leathery paint and patina, and it sat for some time. I get it running. I'm going to the coffee shop yesterday. I'm just driving around the block. I pull out of the driveway to go to the coffee shop. The thing dies on me at the end of the street, and I have to push it backwards down the street. So,
oh my God. At least it's light, and I get, it doesn't weigh very much. It's good.
Yeah. Well, it's an automatic as well, so it's a
shit,
2+2
really?
ugly duckling automatic version.
A 2+2 automatic. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You have really gone in on the uglified E-types, haven't you? Are they both 2+2 automatics?
They're both 2+2 automatics. One's a Series 2 inline 6. That's the white one.
Yeah.
And then the blue one is a Series 3, the 12, which is slightly flared and sort of suits the body style a little bit better. But the goal really is to make the patinaed V12 one a hot rod with a manual conversion, probably a 5 or 6 conversion.
What can you do with that V12? Is it hot rod-able?
Yes, it is. There's a couple of versions you can do of, bore and stroke to get approximately 400 horsepower out of one, which is
Fuck out of here, really? Wow. 400 horsepower would really be something.
Yeah. 400 horsepower, upgrade the suspension, and then you can actually do a manual transmission conversion out of a BMW, a 5 or 6 speed conversion, which is really nice gear ratio.
Oh, yeah.
So
sure, a close ratio 6 speed would be kick-ass with a 400 horsepower V12. That would be amazing.
Right. So that is the slippery slope of current E-Type ownership.
I support that. I support this.
Yeah.
I support this plan. 100% support this plan. But wait, question, why can't you just get a Jaguar manual and just do a factory part conversion, or did that 12 never come with a manual?
No, you can get a 12 with a manual, but the factory manuals were 4-speed.
Oh, right. Yeah,
So, the thinking is to go with a more modern more modern gearbox, gear ratios, and affordability aspect of these plenty of BMW 5, 6-speed gate rag transmissions out there that apparently is not a ton of modification needed to hook it up and make it perform.
Yeah, so BMW gate rag is good. That'll be good. It'll shift nice. It'll be cool.
Yeah. And the E-Type, the 2+2 automatic is the affordable E-Type now, because they've sort of become quite expensive. So,
well, do you think in the long run that there's going to be I think what really divides a lot of the value versus the no value is stick versus automatic. I mean, the enthusiasts want the manuals. So, is there a lot of opportunity across the board for automatic collector cars that are just way cheaper?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, it's interesting, in the Porsche world, no one wants a Tiptronic 964, right? They're super affordable.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't blame them. I've driven one. They suck.
Yeah. I mean, when I had my Series 1 E-Type Jag, which was supposedly the best of the bunch, I would never have thought about a 2+2 automatic unless I was watching Harold and Maude, right?
Yeah.
No one wanted a 2+2 automatic. But it just boiled down to availability, and for what I wanted to do, I don't necessarily want to be a lot of money into these projects. I'm looking for things that are affordable or where I can get in without feeling like, I'm spending too much money. So
well, you've cut up a bunch of 911s now, and they're all worth money, so you need new, cheaper things to cut up. The 911s are too expensive to hack up anymore, aren't they? Even for fun, even for somebody with a good budget to work with. It's still a 964 project car. It becomes expensive fucking quick.
Yeah. I think the best bang for the buck in the 911 world today is still 996.
Of course.
First water cooled. I think that's the best bang for the buck. Back to next big thing. One car I want to feature is a Gen 1 Boxster. Because believe it or not, this year is the 25th anniversary of the Boxster, right?
Oh my God! Can you get a 25-year-old fucking Boxster already? Wow! How about that? You can
get it for $5,000 is what you get it
for nothing.
Yeah. So this is a lot of bang for the buck right there.
Well, the thing about Boxsters are, you can have one mechanical failure and pretty much total the car. They're so expensive to repair. That's the problem with Boxsters. They start getting cheap enough, and the experience of driving them, and those early cars, some of them are fucking turds. They're really slow.
I've never owned one. I'm more of a Cayman guy, truth be told. Back to the, roof over the head type.
Agree.
Yeah, well, and you got to have an S. If you're talking about a first-gen car, having an S makes a big difference.
Yeah, Cayman S, or, on my list of cars, I've got Cayman R, that's slightly higher up the food chain, but still, slightly under the radar. But yeah, Gen 1 Cayman S, I think, represents quite a lot of bang for the buck.
For sure. For sure. What else is in any other new acquisitions in the Walker Burgess collection? Or it's not Burgess, Jesus. That's another Hannah I know. Elliot. Excuse me. I know 3 Hannahs. Yeah. I just said the wrong one's last name. My fucking bad, Hannah. I love you. Sorry.
I ended up acquiring a 75 AMC Hornet just on a whim last year.
Wait, you just broke up. A 75 what?
AMC Hornet. When I was looking for the E-Type Jag, an acquaintance guy, fellow Brit, Fraser Douglas, who I'd bought a 928 from about 2 years prior, basically was leaving LA and selling it off and moving to France. And he said, hey, do you know anyone that might be interested in a 75 AMC Hornet? Sends me a photo. It's orange, light ivory stripe down the side, looks cool, was really inexpensive, and it ran. And within an hour, I'd gone down to Santa Monica and purchased something that I didn't even know I needed and wasn't even looking for. Purely because it had like original paint and tons of character and patina and just kind of ticked this little muscle car box that I was, itching for slightly whilst I was looking for this patina E-Type Jag that turned out to be the blue V12 E-Type Jag.
What is a 75 AMC Hornet powered by?
Well, it's got a 347 V8 that makes a 304 V8 that makes 147 horsepower.
Woo!
Back in
Must
the
be
day.
screaming.
Yeah, today probably makes 110 horsepower. So, I just ended up acquiring that as like a little grocery gift. So sometimes I fall into things I'm not even looking for.
Nice.
Currently, I'm driving a Lotus Evora GT for a couple of weeks.
Oh, press car? Aren't they lovely?
Yeah, this is the third one I've had, and this one I've got for a month. I know you've had one before. I mean, there's things about it that I love, and there's things about it that I don't love.
Ultimately, I think it provides, it's definitely an imperfect car, but I think it provides one of the best analog driving experiences available today, and you don't have to go really slow to get it. It's still a very fast car. They're really nice to drive. Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty practical. There's plenty. I can get Willow in the back of it. So now sometimes we've got a dog, so it all depends. Can the dog come with us as to what we drive and where we go? And she likes the Lotus, so so far so good on the Lotus.
That's a cute dog. I like that dog a lot. We got to get Willow. We know Zach has a new puppy named Tucker, who's an Australian Shepherd. It's very cute. We need some friends.
True.
So we're working on having it be friends of my cats. It's going okay.
That one's tough. I've got a cat, Jet, and Willow, and the two are not compatible.
Do you have to keep them separated?
Yeah, when we first got Willow about 4 months ago, back in September, we bring her into the warehouse. Jet was in the warehouse downstairs, and Jet basically puffed up and backed Willow up, so Jet won round 1. Round 2 went to Willow, where we were out in the garden. Jet, the cat, was in my office. Willow goes into the office unsupervised and then chased Jet all the way around the warehouse. Jet really, really freaked out, so that was round 2 to Willow. Then we relocated Jet upstairs. Willow's downstairs in the loft, and then one day I was upstairs. Willow followed me up. Hannah was playing with Jet, the cat. And Jet sensed that Willow was coming, froze up, peed on Hannah, scratched her, and so that didn't work out good either. So we haven't got to the stage where Willow's just a little too hyper, where she's too playful, jumping up and really freaks Jet out. So when I had my prior dog Skinner with the same cat, they were compatible, but the difference was the cat came into the dog's realm. This time it's the other way around.
Right.
A little too intimidating. So we're working on trying to get the two together where everyone's living harmoniously.
I feel you. Yeah, whenever Zach's dog comes over, if he has to stay on leash, because if he goes near the cats will like scratch his eyeballs out. They'll fucking destroy him. Yeah, Finn.
And you got 3 cats that'll probably beat up.
We got 4, but only 3 of them would do damage. One is a huge pussy. We got a few questions from the people. You got 15 or 20 minutes to get through a few of these?
Let's do some questions.
Let's blast through a couple. Joseph Munch Oh, he has a 1989 Porsche 930 in silver. Should he go with the U.S. spec red taillights or the Euro spec amber taillights?
Well, this is a real fine detail. Obviously, I would say go with what you want to go with. Silver red, silver orange are two of my favorite color combos, so I think it's win-win either way around. You got the infamous 5-speed, so you're already, you know.
Yeah, you're already in an 80. If you're in
everyone
an
else.
89 930 turbo, you already have one of the best Porsches.
Yeah, G50, 1 year only, 5-speed.
So delightful,
What
that
else?
car. Luis says, Magnus, if you were going to buy a vintage, I'm going to add the word vintage to this question. It's not there, but I'm putting it there because it makes it a better question. A vintage Toyota for $10,000, what would it be? You mentioned the Cressida.
Yeah, I drove the Cressida, which was a lot of fun. Driving the Cressida wagon was really a blast. I did like that. I do want the 77 Toyota Corolla 2TC, which I started trying to find and wasn't that easy to find. And how much is an MR2?
I think you're in MR2 world for 10 grand for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
10 grand
Maybe
MR2 is
MR2.
going to be a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'd say
maybe
MR2,
for a first gen. Yeah.
Yeah, MR2 then.
All right. Vlad
Or
says,
Celica.
Magnus, what do you think about adding a hybrid system like the Vonnen Shadow Drive on a G-Body 911 or 964? Have you seen that thing?
No, I haven't seen it. What is it?
So there's a company called Vonnen, and they have developed this hybrid system. It's an aftermarket hybrid system. Right now, it only works in 997 and 991 Porsches, and it replaces the flywheel with an electric motor. You put the battery in the frunk, and it's like 175 horsepower and 75 torque, I think. On a button. It's seamless. It's just power, extra power. You don't have to do anything else. The car doesn't even know it's there. So they were trying to sell it as a thing for modern Porsches, but also as an opportunity to add performance to a vintage Porsche without, you know, very expensive engine rebuilds, and, you know, air-cooled horsepower is super expensive.
Sure, why not is what I say, right?
I drove it. I drove it. It
variety.
worked. It did work. In the new car, it did work. I think it'd be cool.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Do what you
it's
love.
150 horsepower. Sorry, not 75.
There you go.
150
There you go.
horsepower.
That's twice as good.
Yeah, I mean, if you put that in the 89 turbo and used it as a torque fill, that would be super cool. Miguel Flores says, I have a 2014 Toyota Yaris with 200,000 miles. I beat the shit out of it. Fluids and tires is all it's ever needed. Is there a cheaper and more reliable daily?
No.
Probably not. No, you're probably
think so.
approaching that the
20,000 miles
apex
is
of
pretty good.
cheapness and reliability there. I would say you're pretty good.
Form and function at affordable pricing.
Right. Miguel Flores says, do you think Chrysler might actually build a Hellcat Pacifica? No, I don't think so at all. No. It was the
No car
Hellcat.
or no car.
Well, it's that Hellcat everything, you know, trope. And they've got a Durango, they've got a Ram, they've got a Jeep. I mean, almost everything's got a fucking Hellcat motor in it. But
That's a
the
lot of power.
Pacifica, no Pacifica. Okay, wait, hang on a second. Amin says, I'm going to come back to that. He said he actually answered this already. First Porsche as a weekend car to keep forever. My budget only allows for basically early water-cooled cars. Okay, what early water-cooled car would you keep forever is the question.
Well, in the past couple of years, I acquired a few 996s from Gen 1 Aero Kit 99, which I really like, all the way up to the King of the Hill 2002 GT2. It depends on budget, affordability, Gen 1 996 all day long. And, you know, you can't have a Gen 1 conversation or even a 996 conversation without people talking about two things, right? IMS bearings and ugly headlights. And I don't think either one's really that much of a deal breaker. Headlights, you don't even see them when you're driving. And IMS bearing, I think percentage-wise, is overblown as to ones that really had issues. You know, I bought a Gen 1 996, 99, 8,000 miles, still the original, everything, no issues. So I don't tend to worry about stuff like that. So I would say Gen 1 996 non-GT car is the best bang for the buck if you're going to keep it forever. If money's no object, Gen 2 GT3.
Yep.
Or turbo.
Yeah. GT3 is, very nice. All right. Sam Lowe wants you, and I suppose to pair watches with these cars. Car 1, Aston Martin DB5.
Well, we have to say what?
Yeah, what watch would you pair with a DB5? Yeah.
Well, a DB5, Rolex or Breitling. That seems to be those guys.
Yeah, I would say Rolex Submariner would pair well with a DB5. An R34 Skyline GTR.
Casio calculator watch.
Oh, okay. All right. I would go G-Shock or Grand Seiko. And then a red Dodge Challenger Demon.
Ooh.
A 52 millimeter Panerai or a Bentley themed Breitling that's like that big, or an Invicta.
I think the Demon.
I would go a Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Your grandfather's watch with
Just
that one,
American.
because it's
Yeah,
the
maybe.
old formula. It's just old muscle car.
Or something fake.
Yeah, American, right? Hamilton's an American watch.
All right, there we go. Shannon says, same question. First Porsche, best experience for the money, $80,000 budget.
Well. You see, you can get a lot of variety for 80,000.
Me too.
Bucks, right?
I think that as well.
You sort of got to pick your poison right.
But he want that. But the question's leaning towards modern. I think, not vintage. Best modern Porsche for $80,000. Carrera T.
997 turbo. 997 turbo.
997 turbo. That's a good choice. I like that. I would say that or 991 Carrera T if you can get that. Okay. Andre wants to know, am I burnt out or aged out of tuner cars, and could I see myself modifying or building cars again? I am burnt out of tuning a car out of class. Like, I think you can get a car and then tweak it a little bit once it's to you to make it more yours, but you can't fundamentally turn it into something else. And that's what we are learning with making the show Tuned, is that the more you modify a car, the less it works properly.
Right. Sometimes it's hard to beat what the factory already did.
Yeah, but by the way, just to point out, my daily driver right now is a modified Porsche that's like a knockoff rally car. So I'm not totally too old of tuner cars. I'm just trying not to turn cars into other cars, which is what I tried to do with a Fox body.
Wasn't there a modified Porsche tuner off-road rally car that broke the internet that debuted yesterday?
The Singer car?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, wasn't it?
It's amazing.
It looks lovely.
Yeah, I think the car's a bit of a next-level game changer. I think it's a step that they needed to go down to sort of not reinvent themselves, but go to the next level, and I think it was really, really well executed.
I mean, I think it'll be fucking amazing, and I know that Richard Tuttle is extremely smart, and I'm sure
those guys know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing, but I can't help but notice the similarity between this and the Baja 911 that came out last year and was released by a guy who worked at Singer.
That's
so
right,
I
TJ
cannot help believing that the folks at Singer saw TJ's car, saw that he was taking orders, and said, we could probably do this too at an even higher margin. He
may have even suggested they do something like that. Hey,
Maybe.
Zach, you should click over to my story, and there's a photo of said car in my story. Click over on the gram.
He's got if you don't
story.
follow Magnus on Instagram, you should. It's very easy at Magnus Walker.
I think Zach can pull it up because it's a pretty interesting photo.
Well, there's a photo in your main feed right here of this thing fucking sliding. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, that's the new single one. But if you go to my story as of like 2 hours ago before.
Oh, do you have a side by side with TJ's car?
Not side by side, but click through. There's Zuckerman. Keep clicking.
Oh, there. Go back.
There you go.
It.
There you go.
Yeah,
go back one.
Yeah, so that's the Baja 911, which was built by TJ Russell, which looks incredible in person and in photographs. So, and that's why I kind of wasn't as like, there's the side by side. Look at that. Oh, here. Is there shade?
Is that TJ's feed?
Yeah, no, this is TJ. It says the caption is, it's got the Baja 911 and then the Singer. Obviously, the Singer looks a little more slick and polished, but the Baja 911 is fucking gnarly.
But his looks so good,
his
man.
looks beast.
Got great fender flares, great stance.
He pretty much suggests it's a congratulatory post, but I can't help if he doesn't feel not quite as enthusiastic about it as it. I can't help but saying, but posting it side by side shows what the caption doesn't say. You got to drive it?
Yeah, I drove it right after SEMA. So that photo taken November 25th was when he debuted the car at SEMA. And I drove it in the Crest on the road and not off-road. I actually
How'd it drive?
Drove it on tarmac in the Crest. It was interesting. There was so much roll. You know, you'd come in, lift off on a thing, it would just rotate like this, and it sort of went like that. So, definitely more suited, I think, for dirt than tarmac. At the time, the first phase that he did, back in 2019, I know he's since modified all these trailing arms and everything, and Gamroth built him the motor, which made plenty of power over there at Roth Sports. So,
as they do.
And he's a nice guy.
He is. He's super cool, and the car looks amazing. Zach, do we have other ones, or was there anything after that? And then we can let our friend Magnus go. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that one. I don't understand this question. Someone wants Theo Thoja. I don't know. Okay, you're tasked with recreating the Yellowbird Nürburgring lap in 2021. What car do you choose, and more importantly, what footwear? Well, what car do you choose? You choose a roof Porsche.
Choose
That's
the new
the thing.
Yellowbird.
The new Yellowbird. That's not more, and you have to do it in loafers. It's got to be loafers.
Yeah, I think so.
Although,
I think
Magnus, your footwork in like your fucking shit kicker boots is really good. Your left foot braking and heel toeing in those boots is impressive.
Do you left foot brake?
Only in cars that don't have power brakes. I tend to get a little on it when the power brake booster kicks in, but in like old 911s or in like off-road cars, I do it more. Yeah. I know you're a left foot braker.
I was in the Lotus the other day in the crash yesterday, actually. I'm trail braking in. I'm still a little bit on the gas. All of a sudden, the car just sort of doesn't die, but it doesn't stall out. But all of a sudden, it doesn't like it when you have, your foot on the gas and your foot on the brake at the same time, even for a fraction of a second.
Oh, really?
Even if you've eased back off the throttle and you were sort of trail braking in, I'm like, I guess you can't do that in that car. Well,
Is that a Toyota electronics thing?
It's got to be a Toyota electronics thing for the engine.
I think that's what it is.
For the cut. Yeah.
Yeah, because it cut, and I'm like, I guess you can't do that in this.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
I mean,
it's the same question. Similar question.
I'm sorry, everybody, but if you literally have the same questions that we've asked over and over, I can't do it. I love you all, but I can't do it. Eric Varden says, I know, but Eric Varden says, I have a 2018 Honda Civic Si, but after 40,000 miles, it's getting boring. Is it worth upgrading to a Type R? Yes, if it's sticker. You pay sticker. You don't pay 10,000 over sticker.
The rest of those are old.
The rest of those are old.
Seems racy.
The R's, have you driven a Type R? It's good. Type R's nice. It's very fun.
I haven't driven one, but I do have a question for you. Your Aston Martin that you converted from automatic to manual, you still have that car? You love it?
Yes, I do. Yes, and yes. Yes, it is good. The conversion is fine. It feels factory, fundamentally. It really improves the car. I mean, it really, your alternative, that transitional flappy paddle thing you don't want that. So, no, I mean, it's literally the difference between, this is pretty nice and fun to drive once in a while, and never,
Never again.
Yeah.
I do have an Aston on my list. It's a 70s V8 Vantage. So,
well, those are very, very cool.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a big difference between automatic and manual as well in terms of the prices.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
but Works would convert it for you. If you buy it in England.
How long did that take by the time you'd done that whole process?
Fucking like 10 months. It took forever. Wow. It was so annoying. And the whole time Aston Works treats you like they're doing you some kind of a favor.
And you're paying for it.
Shocking, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming down, Mike. Coming down. You didn't have to come down. This is very convenient. You can go back to your freezing warehouse, and I can go back to my freezing beach house.
Well, enjoy the sunset from the freezing beach house. Zach,
Thanks,
I hope
dude.
your back feels better. Matt,
Next
thank
big
you for the
thing.
support.
Where it's
Next
on
big
Haggerty's
thing.
YouTube channel, right? Pull
So
that up,
Haggerty's
Zach.
YouTube channel, it debuts Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and that is noon for you East Coasters, or obviously global viewers worldwide, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Tune on
And
in.
also, they'll be there afterwards too. If you're not around
Yeah,
at
yeah.
9 a.m. Is it
Then
Zach? Please tell me it's youtube.com/Haggerty.
I mean, yeah, it's if you YouTube and go just search Haggerty.
Just
like,
search
that's where
Haggerty
it
on
is.
YouTube. Okay, there you go. And Sammy Smith's got a show. Eventually, I'm going to have a show also.
Yeah, youtube.com/Haggerty.
Yeah, there you go. All right, cool. The next big
There's plenty
thing.
of room for us all to have some fun.
Yes, and tell your Hannah that I miss her and I would like to see her soon. And I am
I will
enjoying
let her
reading her
know.
column. And I'm sorry that corporate America won't let her do my podcast on the fly.
Well, she's looking forward to doing it. She will be on very, very soon, and I will let her know you're continuing to read all her articles.
I
she's doing some
am.
great stuff out
I can always tell a Hannah Elliott headline when I get to it in my Apple News feed. I always click on it, and I always enjoy her perspective. And she is a great follow on Twitter as well. I highly
Yes, she
recommend
is.
following Hannah.
She's
Hannah
funny,
Elliott
tall,
on Twitter.
sexy, talented. That is Miss Hannah Elliott right there.
Yeah, and she looks like a goddamn model, so it's really frustrating for me because when she doesn't do influencer photos, like her regular photos look like influencer photos because she's so like tall and attractive and model like. It's us fat bald men, we just can't compete with your stylish old Rolls
I don't know what you're
Royce
talking
driving
about. I just
ways.
get out this phone that we're doing this on. I press the button, and that's it. That's how it happens.
The glamorous life of Magnus Walker.
I'm a
and
lucky
Hannah
guy. I
Elliott.
know. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, dude. We'll talk to you real soon. I can't wait to see your
See you
show.
soon.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys. Appreciate it. Rock and
Guys,
roll.
live audience,
Bye.
we'll be back tomorrow with Thaddeus. We're doing a cruise show, and we'll be talking about the Defender off-roading and a bunch of the fun things we've done adventuring over the last 2 weeks. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you. Magnus, you're a G. Talk to you very soon, brother. Thanks for watching.
you very
That's our
much.
show. Good night.
Cheers. Good night.